House Oversight Chairman Comer said yesterday on the floor that you had Jeffrey Epstein over for dinner and took money from him back in 2013. This was after he was on the sex offender list. Any comment on that? And will you be holding members accountable regardless of party affiliation if there were any misdeeds related to the Epstein files?
Was that a serious question or a serious statement from malignant clown James Comer that I had Jeffrey Epstein over for dinner?
About what you have now. Let's not go back to what's done in the past and what has not been extended. If you want to get something that has actually done, you need to do something that will have bipartisanship.
You can ask me the question. You can ask me the question. I'll provide the answer.
Answer the question instead of going back.
I'll provide the answer. No. I'm providing an answer in order to provide context.
Breaking news about Hakeem Jeffries. His challenger is a Democrat socialist in Brooklyn that is planning to replace him with the backing of Zohran Mamdani and, of course, AOC, who the Democrats are now trying to prop up to take on the presidential race in 2028, which is something else we got to talk about. But Hakeem Jeffries knows his career is pretty much over as Democratic leadership is under attack by socialists. There is a civil war that I think Republicans should stay very far away from if they want to keep winning. So he had an interview today with CNBC, and he loses his mind when he is questioned about Republicans, about Obamacare, and his meltdown is actually worse than I could have imagined. He is getting challenged and he is losing his mind. He is on a short fuse because he knows that the Democratic socialists, let's just call them socialists, are coming for his job and they're going to be very successful. I'm even going to show you who's running against him that is about to replace him as he knows his time is up. So let's just go to it. Ladies and gentlemen, watch this crazy interview. And here's something else I'll say. You know it's over when CNBC stops propping you up and starts challenging you. This is crazy.
To get done, you are going to need at least some Republicans to come over. Why not start with a 1-year extension or potentially even a 2-year extension?
Well, Leader Schumer offered a 1-year extension in the context of trying to end the Trump Republican shutdown.
Yeah, but that's different. What I'm talking about, what you have now. Let's not go back to what's done in the past and what has not been extended. If you want to get something that has actually done, you need to do something that will have bipartisanship.
You can ask me the question. You can ask me the question. I'll provide the answer.
Answer the question instead of going back.
I'll provide the answer. No. I'm providing an answer in order to provide context. Republicans have repeatedly refused to
Look at her face. This is how you know Democrats are done with Hakeem Jeffries. Look at her face.
Provide context. Republicans have repeatedly refused to take yes for an answer. It was a very reasonable multi-year extension that was offered. It was a 1-year straight extension plus a multi-year process through a bipartisan commission to more permanently resolve the Affordable Care Act issue. So having that context is absolutely important, regardless of what you may think.
It's important context to make me realize that I don't think you want to get a deal done. I think this is something where you'd like to see the rates go higher and allow the Republicans to hang themselves with that. Is that the answer?
That's absolutely a ridiculous assertion. And really, shame
3
on
years
you
is not going to get passed. So what do you do?
Shame on you for saying that. Because we're
oh my God, Democrat on Democrat crime on CNBC this morning. She's flat out telling him exactly what man, we are watching. I think it's because Trump won, but we are watching Democrats challenge Democrats. This is crazy.
And really, shame
3 years
on you
is not going to get passed. So what do you do?
Shame on you for saying that, because we're fighting. It's not a partisan issue for us. In fact, the states that are most impacted as it relates to an Affordable Care Act tax credit expiration are all Republican states. We're talking about West Virginia, Wyoming, Alaska, Mississippi, right? Tennessee. Over and over and over again, we can go through the list. That's why you probably have some Republicans who would sign on if you guys could come up with something that actually looks like a bipartisan deal. Listen, this is not a partisan fight for us. It's a patriotic fight. We're fighting for every constituent, even if Republicans aren't necessarily fighting for their own constituent. We want to find a bipartisan path forward. And that is what we've repeatedly indicated we want to do. Like, we want to sit down and have a reasonable discussion, find common ground to address this issue. Now, Republicans said in the House they were willing to deal with the Affordable Care Act tax credit issue after the government funding agreement was reached. Well, now the government shutdown is over, and there's still been no conversations with House Republican leaders. Mike Johnson never said that. The leader never said that. You do have Republicans, though, who would agree with you on something if it was actually bipartisan in nature. That's what I'm trying to get at.
she is literally describing his nasty playbook, a nasty Democrat playbook. As you can see, the exchange going back and forth when it comes to an honest conversation that is going to be bipartisan, that can lead to the government not being closed again in January, in the first quarter of this year. So what she is doing is she is exposing the underlying issue, which is Obamacare, finding a partisan way forward that she thinks he doesn't want, because she thinks that in his playbook, he wants the Republicans to hang themselves, right, by either getting it shut down again and not having their way, and then going into the midterms with a shutdown again, or nonpartisan, which is all in favor of Obamacare and subsidies and something that just hasn't worked. So she is exposing the game plan, which is just so wild to see here. So let's keep going as she again continues to, every time he props himself up to be the reasonable guy, she literally throws another curveball at him to give him a reality check about what the job that he has done as Democrat leader, to find a way to have a bipartisan way of doing things. But she doesn't believe the Democrats have that in them. That's why he's getting mad. He's getting flustered, because every time he goes into an interview with Democrats or a mainstream media, CNBC, MSNBC, CNN, or ABC, they never push back in this direction or in this way. That's why he's freaking out.
Actually, Mike Johnson actually did say that there was always a plan to specifically deal with the expiration of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. In fact, he said that repeatedly. So I'm not sure what you're referencing. I think
their plan is something that looks more like an HCA, which I'm guessing you would say is dead on arrival too. If you wanted to set up these healthcare plans that are funded instead of going through the ACA, I'm assuming you would say that's dead on arrival too, because there have been Republicans who've put that forward. Am I wrong in thinking you would not go along with that?
What I'm saying is that what's in front of us is the immediate expiration of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Republicans have had all year to deal with this issue, and they've refused to do it. So they're the ones who are not interested in finding a resolution to a healthcare crisis that they've created, including passing a bill that enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. And because of their policies, hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers are closing throughout America, including in rural parts of the country.
Which would why it would be nice to see a one-year extension so that none of these things happen immediately, and give you all time to actually try and work on bipartisan situations, rather than a 3-year extension that basically kicks it down until the next administration is.
He doesn't want to do an extension. And I think that's why, first of all, we've never seen him freak out this way, right? And they don't want to honestly do an extension. That's not what they want to do. What they want to do is keep on coming with these resolutions, or keep, again, agreeing to the resolutions. They didn't want to agree to the resolution. If it were up to this guy, the government would still be closed and chaos will be happening in the streets with people not receiving benefits or, again, healthcare, just chaos in the streets. That's what they want. You know what I mean, guys? That's what they want. Brutal moment. Hakeem Jeffries loses it on CNBC as host, actually pressing him into answering the question. He just embarrassed himself big time. Again, the back and forth, and this was just a huge yikes moment. And he knows that, he's losing it. But here's why he's losing it. Let's actually dig deep as to why he's on a short fuse and losing it, because he knows his job is done. Hakeem Jeffries, who thinks of himself as the coolest and toughest leader in America has ever seen, is officially being challenged in a Democratic primary by Socialist New York City Council member Chai Aussie. I think that's how you say his name. Here he is, Chai Aussie. And it looks like he has the crowd behind him. This is going to be a huge race. This is going to be a huge deal. And Hakeem is about to be replaced. And I think he knows that, because the rise of socialists in New York City connected to the Democratic Party, like AOC and Zoran, this is getting pretty crazy. So here we go. Let's actually go and see who this guy is. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Chai Aussie, the queer Buddhist socialist New York City councilman, reportedly planning to primary Hakeem Jeffries, a close ally to Zoran and the only Gen Z member on New York City's council. So he's about my age, probably like 28 years old still, 27, probably born in 1997. So he's still pretty young. It looks like he will be getting Jeffries out of here. A queer Buddhist. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, New York got a lot of things going on over there.
NYC DSA members, this can only be done and only be tried in partnership with you. And we must try. The national leader of the Democratic Party could be anywhere in America. And by some random chance, it's a man whose millions from AIPAC become billions for bombs. And he's right here in Brooklyn. I believe we have an obligation of circumstance. It could be by anyone, anywhere, but it's us here. Over $150,000 and 1,000 volunteers are pre-pledged. This would grow capacity, not strain it. And this will grow black socialism and strengthen the movement for the sake of our neighborhoods and the millions overseas who we will never meet. I'm asking you to vote yes. We have to try.
He has reportedly told allies he plans to challenge Jeffries in 2026 per New York Times. Here's his fit. New York City is cooked, not because of this. They've been cooked because of Hakeem Jeffries' leadership. But a queer Buddhist, everybody's thrown off by this, a queer Buddhist socialist. Well, we've seen it all, ladies and gentlemen. New York City is headed in a direction where we don't know. We don't know. Also, something that happened was that during the meeting of Donald Trump and Zoran, that again, Democrats and socialists are melting down over already, what happened there is actually hilarious. Trump said flat out to everybody that the leader of the Democrats is Zoran Mamdani, not Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer. I mean, things are getting pretty wild, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to smash the like button. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys on the next one.